Good evening, everyone. Today we speak about a heavenly body we have known since childhood, the moon. We watch her change shape through the month, slender crescent, half moon, full disk. Humanity has always credited her with powers. Ancient farmers timed their sowing by her cycle. Sailors trusted her phases for navigation. Poets asked her for love's advice. Hello. If you like our video, I appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. It helps this channel grow so I can keep creating great content for you. Thanks so much for your support, and let's back to the video. Between wonder and reality lies a fine border. Many beliefs we inherited from our grandparents sound logical, but they do not withstand the data collected by scientists, doctors, and statisticians. If we think the moon can disturb our sleep, hasten childbirth, or sway crowds' moods, we risk confusing coincidence with cause, making poor choices, and living with needless worries. That is why I propose a journey in 4 stages, a path both simplified and rigorous. The moon's main roles are to govern the tides, provide natural nightlight, and stabilize Earth's axis. Though these 3 forces act on different scales and times, they are the only effects science recognizes as directly or indirectly touching our lives. Let us examine them one by one to see where their influence ends. Each day, roughly twice, ocean levels rise and fall in a steady rhythm. The chief driver is lunar gravity. The moon's mass draws water toward it, Earth rotates, and the water appears to flow around the continents. Without the moon, the sun alone would still raise tides, but they would be far weaker, about half as strong. For us, that means shorelines that shift marine currents that redistribute heat, nutrients, and life, and ports that schedule arrivals and departures by tide tables. Tides also shape human work shipyards. Launch vessels at high water salt pans fill on the flood, and bridges must endure extreme swings where tidal bores run. In turn, people who live near coasts develop habits, calendars, and even dialects stamped by the moon. Before Edison lit the first commercial bulb, the only ways to brighten night were fire or the moon. At full phase, the lunar surface reflects about 7% of sunlight. Little, yet enough in dark countryside to plow, harvest, hunt, and celebrate. Today, public lighting has almost erased that difference, but in places still dark, the full moon remains a most useful spectacle. Biologically, its glow may delay bedtime by a few minutes if we sleep outdoors, yet it is a drop in a sea of LEDs and screens. Earth's spin is tilted at roughly 23.5 degrees, and this tilt is what actually creates the seasons. Without the moon, astronomical simulations show that our axis could wobble a lot more, really scrambling the seasonal cycles. The moon acts as a giant gyroscope. Her gravity, well, it smooths out these swings and keeps them within a pretty narrow band. None of us feels it day to day, but over long spans, it has given stability to the environment in which humanity learned to farm and build cities. Picture, if you will, 3 concentric circles. In the outer ring, the moon rules planetary phenomena. In the middle, she shapes society through tides and calendars. And in the innermost, the individual senses only minimal effects. If we camp outdoors, a full moon may delay sleep by 20 minutes, but a lit screen already does so much more. Let us calmly distinguish what we can measure from what we simply recount. The heart of our talk, however, is to leaf through modern legends tied to the moon. The idea that the full moon spoils our sleep, the notion it brings more babies, and the conviction it sparks strange or violent behavior. These are stubborn myths, able to survive the age of satellites and giant databases. Before we look at numbers, we should pause on the ground of the mind to see why myths take root. There is confirmation bias. We remember what supports the idea and forget the rest. There is the availability heuristic. The more vivid a story, the more likely we think it is. The media prefer dramatic headlines. Null-effect studies stay in drawers. Add the allure of storytelling. Saying the ward went crazy under the moon is gripping. Statistical tables are not. Finally, the moon is visible. A bright disk inviting meaning. Myth 1, I sleep badly at full moon. Many people swear they cannot close an eye during the full moon. A small study from 2013 seemed to confirm this, but it was actually based on just 33 volunteers in completely dark rooms. So, moonlight played no role at all. Larger studies, with wrist trackers on hundreds of people, find at most a 20-minute sleep delay in villages without power, and only in the 2 evenings before the full moon, when the moon rises early and, well, lights up social activity. In cities, lamps outshine moonlight 100-fold, and a gravitational tug on the body equal to the weight of a mosquito does not upset hormones or the brain. If we sleep little, let's blame coffee, stress, screens, or parties, not the lunar phase. The guidelines stay the same. A dark room, no evening caffeine, steady hours, and an eye mask if we camp. Myth 2, more babies are born at the full moon? It sounds romantic, right? The moon moves seas, so surely she moves amniotic fluid. But electronic records for over 500,000 births in North Carolina, and later in Tokyo, Melbourne, and Barcelona, trace flat curves. There's just no spike of newborn noses at full moon. Labor physiology actually responds to a complex orchestra of hormones between mother and fetus, not to imperceptible lunar poles. Ward workload often depends on scheduled cesareans, not the lunar phase. Seasons, holidays, and vacations explain real baby booms, like 9 months after Christmas in Europe, for instance. So, advice for expectant parents remains pretty simple. Keep your bag packed, make sure to attend regular visits, and honestly, there's no need for any lunar calendar anxiety. Myth number 3, people go mad at the full moon. The word lunatic really does bear a heavy heritage. Yet, meta-analyses of 37 studies, London police logs, and Italian carabinieri records all show absolutely zero link between the full moon and crime or psychiatric admissions. Actually, peaks of violence tend to follow hot weekends, alcohol use, and sports events. If you remove those factors, well, the moon is innocent. Sensational headlines and selective memories keep the tale alive. When someone shouts in the courtyard, the culprit is usually bottle caps, not the disk in the sky. In short, the data speak loudly. Fear not. Let me close with a practical note. If you work in a hospital, record attendance each night, and you will soon see the full moon is not special. If you are parents and a child sleeps badly, switch off screens and nightlights. You will find the improvement lies with you, not the moon. If you live near a port, watch how fishers respect tides without turning them into superstition. They know reality and adapt. Finally, remember this principle. The moon provides the backdrop. We are the actors. We can choose to play scenes of fear or of informed wonder. Let us walk the path of knowledge and empathy. So next time someone says it happens because of the moon, may you answer with a smile and the facts you have just learned. In that way, the light of that disk will reflect into another curious mind. Good evening and clear skies, always.